Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I am the official barrier to your cocktails. But I just wanted to start, because I'm the veteran who's been here before. When I came 2012 last time, I realized what Innotown stood for. Finding new ways to grow your company and each other. It was a hell of a privilege then, and even more of a privilege to be brought back. We came in late last night, down into the airport, really excited to be here, me and my intern, Adam, and we were so excited, forgot our luggage and just rushed out. As you do, rushed straight out. And there was fabulous reception, driver there to pick us up, and it's only as we were walking to the car I realized, where's our bags? Forgot them. Forgot our bags, turned around, went back, and our fabulous driver said, let me see if I can help. Spoke to a couple of people, I'm obviously a man of influence. Someone came out with their badge, opened up the door, let us back in, got our bags, went out. Brilliant. And it wasn't any driver in the reception committee, it was Dag, one of the organisers. It started to feel great to be here, especially I'd had the similar experience a couple of years ago in Barcelona. Dashing out, excited for the conference, running a bit late, the plane had landed late, ran outside, forgot my bags, went to go back in, they arrested me. A very different experience. A very, very different experience. So look, what I'm going to try and do some last one is try and bring it all together. Frederick, how could we forget? He convinced us some countries have a unique identity and every nation is great at something. And it lends itself to the creativity. Tina pushed us. We need to care. Our planet matters. There's work to be done. Epson, who could sell anything to anyone. But he demonstrated very clearly. Some nations have hidden strengths, something you're great at. Maybe diversification, maybe reaching out, maybe doing things a little differently might lead to some greatness there. Paul, my countryman, he was 1,000 miles an hour. Every mile was worth listening to. He convinced us that different generations have something great about them. So I want to bring this all together. There's greatness in everyone in this room. There's greatness in every single one of us. One of the biggest myths in Western developed society is that leaders are only at the top of the organization, at the top of the nation. Nonsense. Managers are at the top of the organization. Leaders are everywhere. Everyone in this auditorium can be a leader if they choose to be. It's your choice. And I'm going to push you. Because the context that led me to write my latest book, Spike, What Are You Great At? Is that nobody is brilliant at everything. We've had the privilege of working with some of the best leaders on the planet. Not one of them is an all-rounder, not one of them is flawless. But at the very top, they have the humility to know the 2 or 3 things only that they're great at. But even more importantly, they know the many things they're not so good at. Everyone in this auditorium is brilliant at something, is great at something. The trick is to discover that, mobilize it, energize it, stand for it, and let it be your guide to the top of your potential. It's not about getting the best paid job, it's about getting the right job for you. And today is the day that everyone who came on excited me. Because when we're talking about innovation, we're at our best when we come together. And the more different our backgrounds, we see the same things differently. Our strength is we say the same things differently. And even Apple would agree.
Open. Open a door, and it opens all the others. Open a mind, and see what happens next. No great thing, no beautiful invention was created in a vacuum. It happens when we leave our comfort zone and come together. Embrace faiths, cultures, disabilities, differences. Embrace races, ages, ideologies, personalities, creating a tool or device nobody saw coming. Humanity is plural, not singular. The best way the world works is everybody in, nobody out. So who we're made of is everyone. Differences not just celebrated, but essential. Many more women in charge, equal pay for equal work, everywhere. A new generation of Apple, more diverse than the one that came before. Open is not just who we are, but what we believe as a company. Because humanity isn't singular, it's plural. The truth is, we don't see things the same. The power is, we don't see things the same.
We are so much stronger together when we come together. You know, it's so rare in my line of work when the phone rings, it's a positive call. Rene, could you just pop in and see us and have a really positive chat? When I get the call, something's gone drastically wrong. So at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday evening, when Angela, the Group HR Director of Sainsbury's, one of the UK's second largest supermarket, calls me and says, Rene, I need you in our offices tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., to have breakfast with our Chief Executive, Mike Coop. What's wrong, Angie? He's called together the operating board, the top 40 in the business. He said he's going to tell each and every one of them that 20% of their annual bonus is now going to be on inclusion. Angie, that sounds like a really good approach to me. But he hasn't told them anything before. I don't think it's going to go so well. Can you ask him to give us another 6 weeks so I can get around everyone and align them? 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm having breakfast with Mike. 5 years before that, Mike was the Chief Financial Officer of Sainsbury's. He's a numbers man. He had data, intelligence, numbers, figures, charts, graphs. His data was undeniable. There was an inclusion opportunity at Sainsbury. But I suggested to him that perhaps numbers don't create the excitement and the energy that he needs to push this through. You need to touch them, the hearts and minds. This is not about IQ, this is EQ. What do you mean? Tell them a story about you. Connect them with how you really feel. What's the context? What's the purpose? Got it. I wasn't sure that he had. At 9 o'clock, I'm at the back of the room, ready to intervene if it doesn't go quite the way I had in mind. Mike told this story. He was born in the Midlands in the UK, in the middle of England, in a small village outside Solihull near Birmingham. He was the first member of his extended family to ever get to university. He didn't get to any university. He went to Balliol College, Oxford, one of the finest educational institutions on the planet. On arrival, within minutes, he was made to feel as though he had the wrong accent. Later on, when he's dining with his new colleagues, the array of cutlery and crockery, he just didn't know how to get across it. He wasn't feeling great. He was invited to a white tie party. Mike didn't know what a white tie was. By the end of 2 years, he felt they were two of the worst years of his life. He felt invisible. He felt excluded. At the end of his second year, two fellow students grabbed him. They're going to show him the ropes. They realized he was feeling lost. They showed him how to navigate a complex institution. They shared with him the unwritten laws of engagement. Mike recalled his third year was one of the best years of his life. He felt included. He was no longer invisible. He now shared with his colleagues that 170,000 employees, 200 stores, depots and warehouses. As he visited all of them, he shared with his colleagues that far too many of our employees, our colleagues, spend their working days feeling invisible. They don't feel they belong. I know precisely how that feels. I'd like you to join me in ensuring that no one who works at Sainsbury's ever feels invisible again. We are stronger together. Nobody argued. I had no work to do. Sometimes it's the story, not the theory, the abstract, the concept. It's not the IQ, it's the EQ. Let me say it again. Everyone in this room can be a leader if they choose to be. It's not management, it's not the science, it's the art. We call management the hardware, we call leadership the software. The essential difference. My favourite quote of the moment. Every speaker that's come on today has spoke about speed. The lightning pace. Trudeau captured it. The pace of change has never been this fast and will never be this slow again. So true. And to bring that alive for you graphically, it is going at breakneck pace. But pace doesn't have to be the enemy. Have a look at China. Have a look how our world has changed within a generation. This is GDP by country. We can see the phenomenon that is the United States. But just have a look at what China does. In no time whatsoever. They decided to do things differently. Innovation on steroids. Maybe it's time we all thought about doing things differently. Never seen stellar growth like this before, ever. In a generation. Not everything old is bad, not everything new is good. What's the mix that works best for you, your family, your team, your business, your nation? We're lucky enough to work, these are the brands we're working with at the moment. And just to back up what Monica said and what Frederick said, this is so clear to us. There is not one of these organizations, these businesses, that is not going through fundamental transformation continuously. It's not a choice anymore. If it's not disruptive innovation, the more hands-on regulation, the white heat of competition, everybody's having to change. We're lucky enough to work with some of the best leaders on the planet. I've said, not one of these is an all-rounder, not one of these is flawless. There was a time when the people worked for the leader. Today, the leader works for the people. It's no longer feasible for one person to call all the shots, all the interventions, solve all the problems. We are so much stronger together. It means team. The presentation, if you can download from here, and I'll ensure that the links with Dag and the organisers, so all of you can download the presentation. Many would say we're living perhaps in an analog and digital world. I'm not sure that's our challenge. I think this is today's challenge. Splendid isolation or dynamic engagement. And you know, in all my years in business, all my years everywhere I've worked, I've yet to see splendid isolation work. I've never seen it work. Yet, We're being peddled it nearly every day. 3 huge drivers of change. The population explosion that was so beautifully explained earlier on by Frederick. Global power structures, who can understand them today? But by far the biggest driver of change, disruptive innovation. And because of that disruptive innovation, I wonder whether for the first time in my career, experience at the top of the organization is overrated. It's demanding a new form of leadership. We can't tell anymore. As Paul so beautifully exemplified, we don't always understand the white-hot pace of change. But maybe we can lead in a different way. Those newer to the organization may understand and be able to traverse this new world much better than we can. And we heard it, Monica gave it to us. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who can't read and write, be those who can't learn, unlearn, relearn. Learn, unlearn, relearn. So we've talked about purpose. I was going to bring purpose alive. Why do we do what we do? Tina kicked us hard. Monica again. 3 men working on a building site in the burning sun. Breaking rocks, the toughest work you've ever seen. They're dripping in sweat. The journalist comes to the first one and says, "Why do you do this job?" "I haven't worked for 3 years. I took the first job I could get." Second one, "Why do you do this job?" "I've got a wife and 3 kids to feed. I took the first job I could get." Comes to the third one and says, "Why do you do this job?" He wipes the sweat from his brow, leans on his shovel and looks up proudly and says, "I'm helping to build a cathedral. I'm helping to build a cathedral. Temple, mosque, or synagogue." It's more than just a job. No matter how repetitive, no matter how menial, no matter how manual any of your team members' work is, give them purpose. Give them something to belong to, someone to believe in. Purpose is everything. The business of business is no longer just business. Tina was right. And I work with so many businesses, private sector, public sector, they do care. There's a generation that's pushing us to care. Do your values match mine? Everyone knows the story when JFK walks into Cape Canaveral, Apollo moon mission. Man sweeping the floor. "What are you doing?" "I'm helping to put a man on the moon." Purpose. You drive into Disneyland. That person that picks up your car keys and drives your car away to park it. They parking your car? No. They're helping to create happiness for others. What's the purpose of your business? Where are you making a tangible difference to the communities you serve? And when we say purpose, quite simply, when we do the mission thing, the management thing, the IQ thing, the hardware, it's operating a business. Why we do it is sharing a dream. Strategic versus cultural, inspirational, aspirational. Creates buying, instills ownership. Provides focus, fuels passion. Building a company, building a community. Laying bricks, building cathedrals. Parking cars, creating happiness. What's your purpose? Your people are owed a purpose. The difference you're making to society, because if we get that right, magic starts to happen. We've got that shared purpose, that shared vision, that shared belief. We get shared ownership. The behavior is mutual responsibility. And the beauty of it, no one has to be held accountable. They take personal accountability. I'm part of something special. It's my privilege to own this. I will deliver it. I don't need to be managed. What I'm really saying to you is the hierarchy is dead. The days of one person at the top barking commands are long gone. Long, long gone. We need a different sort of leadership. Ross McEwen just announced his retirement from the Royal Bank of Scotland. Brilliant chief executive. Inherited a mess. Take your minds back to 2007. The Royal Bank of Scotland was the largest bank on the planet, bar none. By every measure you could have, market capitalization, revenue, profitability, it was the largest. How the mighty fall. Crashed so badly, the UK government bailed them out to the tune of £8 billion. The chief executive was forced to go. Most of the top team was forced to go. Ross was running a retail bank. He inherited a mess. The first thing Ross did, they had a senior leadership team of some 200 people that ran the organization. He decided they weren't the right people. They weren't a team. They're a group of talented individuals that competed with each other in turf wars, which was behind the bank failing. He was advised, do not touch that top team. They run the business. You'll have nothing but problems for years. He decided not only was going to touch it, he was going to shrink it. Shrink it to 100 people. 150 were going. He was bringing 50 from elsewhere in the organization who had the values that he wanted to manage the bank over time. The first thing he did, he went to visit 150 people, no matter where their offices were, in person, to tell them himself they were no longer on the team. Not one resignation. No negative noise. This is leadership. When he brought the top 100 together, he decided to get them all together in London at IBM's offices on the South Bank. No signage, no announcements, no emails. He just told us to turn up for the meeting. I was going to run the meeting with him for him. Ross did something I'd never seen any leader do before. Coffee, 8:30, 9 o'clock, they're filing in. Ross stood at the door as they came in one by one. Everyone that came in, he shook their hand, he knew their first name. He had a unique message for each one. David, great job done in New Zealand with the retail bank. It took 45 minutes for them to file in. By the time everyone was in the room, you could feel the electricity. This is the new age leadership. It's not the people working for you, it's you working for the people. Most traditional organizations, it's always challenge down, support up. I think the new way is challenge up, support down. Every voice needs to be heard because the top of the organization doesn't honestly know what the answers are and even how to navigate the problem. So when I was listening to Paul and his generations, I was asking myself the question, what gets you up in the morning? I'm one of those baby boomers. I grew up with that constant fear of failure, that constant imposter syndrome, I'm going to be found out. They're the generation today that wakes up with a desire for success to make a positive difference, and they're confident. They need a different sort of leadership. My parents came to London in the early 1960s. We were a British colony in Gambia. They had the dream that many of the immigrants had. We had primary education, secondary education, no tertiary, no universities. They gave up their middle-class lives to get their children through university and go back home to Gambia and live happily ever after. We're a British colony. They came to London and got the shock of their lives, the most expensive city on the planet in the early 1960s. They couldn't afford the best housing, which meant we had access to not the best schools. Once in a while, adversity can be the biggest driver of success. No one could work as hard as me. No one was as hungry as me. I wanted my parents to feel fabulous about the sacrifice they'd made. I got to university. Got an award from the Queen. And when you go to Buckingham Palace, you know what us Brits are like, rules for everything. Call her ma'am like spam, and don't speak to her, please. I went along with Tim Henman, one of our professional tennis players, to get the award. The Queen came, she's really diminutive, really charming, and she was speaking to me. Couldn't believe it. I was presenting a BBC TV series at the time. She said, haven't I seen you on TV before? And I said, you know what? I was about to say exactly the same thing to you. I got in trouble again. Spent 10 years at Marks & Spencer, one of the biggest retailers in the UK. I was a merchandiser. I hadn't been to the best university, didn't have the best degree, but I was doing okay. Mum was really proud. Phone rang. Pepsi. Looking for a board director to work out of America. I just knew they had the wrong number, they had the wrong person. But you know what? I'm going to go along for the ride and learn as much as I possibly could. I'd never been in a boardroom, didn't know what a board director did. And would you believe it? They gave me the job. I'm in Purchase, New York State. I'm on the board of Pepsi. On my very first day was a board meeting. And I met my fellow directors. This was April 1992 BG, before Google, which was important to my story because as I'm greeting my colleagues in those dark days, 7 of us on the board, 6 American men and me. The first day was a board meeting. In walks Larry, chief executive. Larry walks in, he's got no notes, he's got no Google. Gentlemen, let me introduce you to our new board director, Rene Carayol. Let me tell you a little bit about Rene. No notes, no Google. Rene's parents came from Gambia in the early 1960s to London. I nearly fell over. I'd never put that on a CV, I'd never put it on an application form. I never thought that was going to help me anywhere. How the hell did he find that out? He went on. Let me tell you about Rene's education. Named my infant school, primary school, high school. Chronological order. No notes, no Google. By now. He got through my career. Marks and Spencer's. I'd been there 10 years. I did 9 jobs. He named them in chronological order. I was close to tears. As I'm talking to you now, I can still feel it. He had no notes. He had no Google. To this day, I don't know how long it took him to memorize it. Chronological order. The whole experience couldn't have lasted more than 3 to 4 minutes. No. It lasted me a lifetime. I still work for Larry for that 3 to 4 minute intervention. What are you doing for people who join your team, who join your organization? What are you doing to make them feel that you have a purpose, that they can belong, that they're included? It doesn't cost everything, but it makes such a difference. And when was the time you hired a scary person? I felt I was scary. I didn't look like them. I didn't think like them. I didn't behave like them. Later on, Larry was to convince me that Pepsi was the ultimate challenger brand. They woke up every day facing the might of Coca-Cola, the most recognized brand on the planet. They needed people who were dead hungry, who were risk embracing, who would work hard, who would run fast. You're describing me. I'm the son of immigrants. I know the sacrifice my parents made. I needed them to feel proud. I was just the right person for Pepsi, the challenger brand. Let me ask you again. When's the last time you hired someone who doesn't look like you, think like you, behave like you? In our world of constant innovation and change, it might be just what you need. I'm talking about team. We interviewed David Fairhurst, who is the Chief People Officer of McDonald's. He defined New Age collaboration, New Age leadership. Collaboration is the new leadership in a way that no one's done it as well.
Leadership now is about collaboration. And that is all about how do you get a two-way dialogue. If nothing else, because you need the ideas coming upward in the organisation because of the nature and complexity and speed of the challenges that the organisation face. So how well connected is the organisation with its people and of course with its customers? And how collaborative can it be in evolving and generating value in the organisation? Now that doesn't take away leadership, by the way. Leaders still have to take decisions and set vision, but they have to do it in a far more collaborative way.
Leaders, leaders, leaders. Let me say it one more time. Everyone in this room can be a leader if they want to be. The question we get asked more than any other, are leaders born or are leaders made? The perennial question. And we put it some great leaders in the sports industry. Answer the question, leaders born or leaders made?
Oh, it's a difficult one. Homework's tough. That's a great question.
That's a difficult question.
I think leaders are born.
I think they're made. The truly great leaders, it's in you.
I would have to say both.
They're born.
I don't think they're born leaders.
I absolutely think you're made.
This is very
I
helpful.
think it's a bit of both.
I think they can be born, but I also think they can be made.
Let's go ahead and say made. Both.
Leaders are born. I think there's probably more made than born.
Both. Developed.
It's truly a combination.
Bit of both. Some learned attributes and some maybe.
Oh, be quiet. I completely disagree. Leaders aren't born, leaders aren't made, leaders are found. In your organizations, within your teams, within your homes, you have leaders. The big clue I would give you, and it's so essential we find them, in times of constant change, you need as many leaders as you can, guiding the way, helping the others. Look for those who can influence and persuade without authority. They're your leaders. They don't have rank. It's not about say, it's not about job description, it's not about hierarchy. It's not management. It's management gets rewarded with the promotions. These are the people that others follow. They sometimes have the social secretaries. They arrange all the social gatherings and everyone goes because they're so good at influence and persuading. Today's leaders, it's not the technical capability, the ability to answer every problem and to set every strategy. It's the ability to get people to follow you, creating an environment where others can deliver. We're lucky enough to work with the Four Seasons Beverly Wilshire Hotel, voted 7 years on the top best hotel in the world. You may know it from Pretty Woman. This is where Richard Gere, Julia Roberts, and everything you saw in that film, believe me, is true. Ben Trott, the general manager, is a genius. He has 3 doormen who run the 3 8-hour shifts every day. He has a manager's meeting once a week. Ben always invites the 3 doormen to his manager's meeting. They are not managers. No matter what shift they're on, they turn up, turned out well, looking smart. They always turn up for the manager's meeting. Why does Ben invite them? Because collectively they have 250 customer interactions every day. They have the pulse of the customer. They are the first touch point of the brand that's a hotel. They have the ability to make customers feel really special. So Ben makes them feel really special. When they turn up at the manager's meeting, they're never item 23, they're not item 9, they are always item number 1. Ben just says, guys, how are the customers this week? What are your views, what are your insights? Guess how they feel? Being asked every time first one. Just being asked makes them feel connected. Being listened to makes them feel engaged. Whenever Ben and his team act on any suggestion they've made, they feel trusted. When people feel trusted, they will give you even more. Even more. It's so simple. Chelsea fan, Chelsea season ticket holder, Jose Mourinho used to be as close to God as you could get. He came back a second time, he was a different person. He was no longer that inspirational leader. He was a confrontational, directive manager. The world had changed. The players were earning way more than him this time round. They felt no allegiance to him whatsoever. He didn't create that spirit they were part of something special. He didn't give them a purpose, didn't give them anything to belong to. It ended in tears. The days of being really directive, telling them what to, didn't work anymore. There's a new generation of players. They weren't local. They came from anywhere and they were earning tons and their loyalty to the club had disappeared. Then we saw this guy. German came to the unique city of Liverpool and understood Liverpool better than the locals. He created a purpose. Everyone who joined was part of something special. He created a team spirit that was nearly tangible. His celebrations on the line was intoxicating for even those of us who didn't want Liverpool to win. And we won't go into what happened with Barcelona. But here's the biggest message I want to give you today. It's no longer about the best person for the job. That's the old world. The new world is the best person for the team. And every one of your teams is in a different stage of development. The lens that gets the best person for the job doesn't work for us anymore. You as a leader with your team require something that works for your team. And for every team, it's different. Think differently, behave differently. This is what led me to my latest book, Spike. For far too often, best person for the job comes in and they don't quite fit. The boss knows the 2 or 3 things they're fantastic at and all the things they're not so good at. I'm not talking about applied skills. It's not marketing, it's not operations, it's not finance. It's, I can communicate well. I follow through, I'm patient. These are gifts I'm born with. I'm always there for you. I'm the completer finisher. Forget the applied learning. It's those competencies that we all need in a team. So we don't look for the best person for the job. We look for the best person with the team. And we try and find out what their spike is. Their standout strength. The gift, the blessing. It's what they're great at. What do you need in your team? For those of us in Britain who are suffering the self-inflicted pain of Brexit, we look at our Prime Minister. We're still trying to work out her spike, but we'll get there soon. One thing we do know is what she needs in the team around her. And it's not that bad a team, but she never engages the team. She's got some incredible spikes around her that are never engaged. How good are you engaging the spikes of your team? When do you stand back to let someone in your team take over because they're better suited to do that particular role? This is the new leadership. And we've got this spike philosophy of the things I tend to do well are the things I tend to enjoy. The things I tend to enjoy are the things I tend to do well. I travelled here with my intern, Adam, who has joined our team. We've got a Russian, we've got an Indian, we've got a Bangladeshi, we've got Brits, we've got Jamaicans, everything. What we've really got is they all do the things I'm not so good at. I come in every day only doing the 2 or 3 things I really do well. And for me, do a job that you love, you never work a day in your life. I think Espen was saying to us that you gave up work years ago, as did I. I retired years ago. I'm paid to do a hobby that I'm brilliant at because my team pick up everything else. What's your spike? What are you great at? How do you build your teams? Are you still looking for the best person for the job? Or are you choosing the best person for the team? I was privileged last week. I interviewed Eric Schmidt. Google do things in a way that I think they're not perfect, but as we heard from Monica before, they do things in a way that I think is brilliant. And we had a chance to interview Eric. New book has come out, The $1 Trillion Coach. They put coaching at the heart of everything they did. It was an incredible experience. We had a couple of thousand people at the Barbican in London as he just shared nugget after nugget after nugget. And the bit we all took away for someone who's been so successful, not a shred of ego. I was lucky enough to interview Laszlo Bock, who was SVP of People Operations, what we would call People Director. He talked about their culture, and it was so compelling.
As head of People Operations, VP of People Operations, how would you describe it from the inside? We've all got our views outside. How would you describe the culture, the values, the leadership of Google?
I think, I think from the outside, and I get this question all the time. From the outside, it's all beanbags and lava lamps and free food, right? People say, do they get any work done? What's going on? I got a call maybe a year or two after I got the job from a colleague who said, our CEO wants to be as innovative as Google. I said, okay. And they said, what do we need to do? And I said, well, why don't you try actually being more transparent and maybe record the CEO's staff meetings and let anybody in the company watch them so they know what's happening? Well, he wouldn't like that. What if you have junior people in the room to kind of take notes and then be sort of emissaries and explain how decisions get made? No, it's very confidential. What if you do an all-hands meeting where anyone can ask questions? What if it's a dumb question and no, we couldn't do that. And we go down the list and down the list, down the list. Suggestion box? No, wouldn't like it. And finally I said, good luck with the beanbags. Because what makes Google work is not all that stuff. It's a mission, what you alluded to, that people can aspire to. And there's a tremendous amount of high-quality academic research that says when you give people a mission, and people find meaning in almost any job, janitorial jobs, housekeeping jobs, people find meaning in any kind of job, it's possible. And connect that to the work they do, they're more productive, they're happier, they stay with you longer. So having a mission.
There's only one organization on the planet that gets more than 3 million unsolicited job applications every year. Who is it? I'll give you such a clue. Come on, who is it? Whisper that again. Google. Do you know who's second? Procter & Gamble. 1 million. Unsolicited. That's people just, I'd like to work for you, I'd like to work for you. We asked the question why, and this is what Google said. You don't need a degree. Harder to get in than Harvard. You don't have to be a genius, but Google loves people with personal spikes. And they love those who can persuade and influence. They have a purpose. If you're going to have people responsibility, you need to be qualified as a coach. That culture of coaching is incredible. Diversity, driving innovation, all the things that are obvious. But we took the top 40 people of HSBC, Europe's largest bank, to meet the top 40 people of Google. We asked them, what are the attributes of a top team? They came up with the same 5 attributes. Where it became different when we asked them to rank it, this was Google's ranking. You heard Monica talk about psychological safety. Like Apple, they believe that people from different backgrounds coming together see things differently, that drives their innovation. But some of us from different cultures may not always find it easy to speak up, may be quite introverted, may prefer to contribute in private. Creating an environment of psychological safety means that we've catered for everyone in their own styles. And that coaching style helps. It's not giving people the answer, it's showing them how to get the answer. And for teams, it can be superb. When we asked them to rank them, Google was the absolute inverse of HSBC. It's not right or wrong, it's just different. What would yours be? So I'm coming to my end now. Everything I've said to you and everything I think our colleagues have said today, I'd like to bring together with a video you're not going to forget. A culture of coaching with people from different backgrounds, in teams where we're not choosing people, the best person for the job, but the best person for the team. And with leaders coming from everywhere in the organization, we can create magic. This is the new leadership, based on what everyone is great at. She has the voice of an angel. She's won many different competitions across America. She's now just won the big one. The prize is Saturday afternoon, the nationally televised basketball game. She's going to sing the national anthem before it starts. She's sung the national anthem thousands of times. And she has that voice of an angel. As she starts to sing, something goes wrong. Anxiety, pressure, the cameras. She starts to crumble. And a well-intentioned American audience does what it always does. In trying to support her, they make her crumble even more. Nobody moves. She's crumbling on her own. One person moves. Leadership is not a rehearsal.
And now, to honor America and salute the men and women serving our country with our national anthem, please welcome, as voted by you, the fans, our winner of the Toyota Get the Feeling of a Star promotion, Natalie Gilbert.
Oh, say, can you see what so proudly we hailed at the stars like stars. Stars like last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rattling and singing air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Do you think she'll ever forget him? His name's Mo Cheeks, professional coach for the Oklahoma basketball team. Culture of coaching: when someone's failing, there's someone there to support you. The question we ask of all the teams we work with: how committed are you to each other's success? Collaboration is the new leadership. Everyone has a spike. She'll never forget him. We'll never forget him. 10 tips, pragmatically, you can take away and do. Number 1, lead by example. It's not what you say, it's what you do that people remember. Number 2, these transformation journeys are too difficult to be facing a bunch of cynics every day. Assemble a band of believers. Number 3, hardly anything said in the management meeting is really private and confidential. The more you're prepared to share with your people, the more they feel trusted, the more they give you. Share the plan, they'll charge a hill with you. The 4 most powerful words we can use on our journey of transformation: what do you think? Think of the doorman at the Beverly Wilshire. They feel trusted, they feel part of something special. Diversity works, but perhaps it's a diversity of experience. The leader of the 21st century won't be those who can't read and write, but those that can't learn, unlearn, relearn. Circumstances change, values don't. Sometimes, just get out of the way. Your team can do it, just get out of the way. Great players don't win trophies. Great teams win trophies. If you're stuck, you don't know what to do, just think about how you'd like to be treated. Be the leader you want to follow. Final message to leave you with: if you're bold, you might fail. If you're not bold, you will fail. Let's go have something to drink. Thank you so much for staying engaged with me. Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Are you able to stay, or do you have to?
Yes, no, of course. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Be careful, I might be back yet again. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's so kind of you. Thank you.
So Rene was actually racing to get to
a drink,
apparently, so he can stay. I know that we've run just a little bit over, but I imagine that because he was so compelling, I don't want to cut things off. Is there just one question that someone's burning to ask, or perhaps connect with Rene after at the drinks? Anything? Well, why don't we then decide?
Drinks it is.
Drinks it is. Everyone is feeling very compelled to have drinks. So thank you again. And I'll just close. Thank